of our lives, from healthcare and education to transportation and entertainment. As AI becomes more advanced, we can expect to see new breakthroughs in fields such as robotics, space exploration, and climate science. However, there are also ethical considerations that must be taken into account as AI becomes more integrated into society, such as data privacy, bias, and algorithmic accountability. As we move forward into the future of AI, it will be essential to strike a balance between innovation and responsibility, ensuring that these technologies are developed and used in a way that benefits humanity and enhances our collective well being. Our esteemed panelists would share their views on this insightful topic, the future of artificial intelligence. HRAI welcomes you all to the session on connecting the dots. To know more about HRA and its events, I would request all our participants to visit the link and details posted in the chat window. It would be great to have all the participants' feedback. We will be running a poll before the Q&A session. Request all participants to kindly give your feedback on the session. I now take the privilege to introduce our moderator for the session, Ms. Pallavi Kar, Associate Director, Human Resources, Tablespace Technologies. Pallavi has been working as a transformation and change agent in the field of talent management and organizational development since last 16 years. Having recently been conferred with the prestigious award of Emerging HR Leaders League Top 40 Under 40 by the Economic Times Group and Women's Aspiration Award 2022 for Emerging Woman Leader in Corporate by EventBox. Pallavi is a certified master trainer for training L&D professionals and leaders. She is also ACC ICF certified NLP coach. She is passionate about helping individuals and teams identify what they want or aspire for in their lives and careers and support them by facilitating and empowering them to reach their goals. You can follow her on LinkedIn. The link for the same has been shared in the chat window. Without wasting much time, I would hand over the platform to Ms. Pallavi. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Faisal, and thank you so much, Team HR Association of India, for this wonderful introduction. And without wasting any further time, let's quickly have the session started. So very good afternoon to all of you, and thank you so much for investing your time with us on this beautiful, bright Thursday afternoon. My name is Pallavi Kar, and I'm the Associate Director of HR for Tablespace Technologies. It is one of the top corporate real estate organizations in India. Today, we have a panel of highly eminent HR leaders and business leaders with us who will be sharing their views and exciting insights on this very critical yet very relevant business topic that all of us are facing today. That is, what is the future of artificial intelligence? Now, as Faisal has already introduced, AI has actually become a very, very important topic in the recent years with the potential to transform almost every aspect of our lives. You talk about any industry today, like as Faisal said, healthcare, finance, transportation, education, real estate, business, banking, everything. AI is actually being used to solve a lot of complex business problems and to create a lot of new opportunities also. However, as with the rise of any new technology, there are a lot of concerns and challenges that we can be associated with the rise of AI. And that is what we are here to talk about today. As we look to the future, it is important to consider the potential implications of AI in all of our lives, in our workplaces, our individual lives. What opportunities does it create? What are the risks it poses? How do we ensure that AI is being used ethically, right? And what role should HR professionals play in managing the impact of AI in workplaces? Now, these are only some of the questions, and I'm sure we will have so much more going forward where we explore, and our panel of experts today will explore these questions, drawing on their expertise in the fields of AI knowledge, HR management, and business strategy. We hope this discussion will provide very, very valuable insights to all of you and the perspectives of the future of AI, and will help us all to understand better the opportunities and the challenges that lie ahead. But before we dive deeper into the discussion and the panel introductions, I want to take a quick temperature check of the room. So I'm going to have a small question pop up here on the window on the screen here. And I want you to take 2 minutes to think about and answer this question. It's a very simple question. Can I request Team HR Association of India to post the question online? Thank you so much. So the question is very simple, as you can see. Do you believe that AI will have a net positive or negative impact on job security in the next 5 to 10 years? So your options are net positive impact, net negative impact, no significant impact, and not sure. That's also an option, right? So I see a lot of responses already coming in. I'll just give it 1 minute. Wonderful. And I see we have a lot of mixed responses. So a lot of the participants are saying, you know, it's still a very unknown player in the game. So a lot of responses are coming as not sure. And then it's a combination of net positive, net negative. No significant impact is still a little lesser as per a lot of our audience today. Interesting responses. And in fact, the biggest response which has come up, and I think that's my response also, I'm not sure how it is going to affect the entire job security, how it's going to affect the entire job scenario. And great, we have almost 73% people who have participated. Yeah, so while we are still waiting for everyone to respond, while we are still waiting for the responses to close, I just wanted to say that our goal today is that whatever your role is in this, like whether you are from HR or you are a business leader or you are an employee looking forward to understand how AI will transform your role, that you come away with something, right? A new idea, a fresh perspective, a new strategy that you can apply to be better prepared and up to date about the latest in AI trends and developments, along with learning about the ethical considerations. So I think we are almost ready with the poll. Great. So I think the biggest response that we have had is not sure. So it's a great response. It's a great response to be in, because I'm sure with this with this entire gamut of discussions that we'll be having today, we'll see how AI can actually affect ourselves and our job scenario. So here is the format and what we will be discussing today. In the next few moments, I will be briefly introducing each of the panel members and request them to tell a little bit about their own selves. I'll then kick off the conversation asking questions that draw some of the high level themes and ideas that you should be talking about in AI today. And then towards the later half of the discussion today, we will open the floor to all of you so that we give you an opportunity to ask any specific questions that have been going on in your mind, so that you can understand how you are going to navigate the upcoming opportunities or challenges that you're facing as a HR practitioner or a business leader or an employee. Does that sound good? Great, let's get started. So our first panel member of today is Ms. Harini Srinivasan. Harini is the partner, Semcostyle Institute, India. Harini is a business transformation evangelist, a design thinker, a neuroscience enthusiast, and a behavioral scientist, adept in unlocking human potential in organizations. She has 24 years of successful experience in the areas of leveraging people's potential for business agility and excellence. A strong believer in driving one's destiny, she practices resilience as a life skill. Positivity and the ability to drive engagement with people help her be an influencer both to industry and academia. She has shared many of her stories through keynotes and TEDx talks. You can also follow her on LinkedIn. The link for the same has been shared in the chat window. I'll request Harini to share a few things about herself.
Okay, hello everyone. Good afternoon, and super happy to be back on HRAI. I've been missing for quite some time. Interestingly, life takes me through very interesting turns, and so it keeps taking me closer to the larger purpose that I have in life, which is to let people see the brighter side of things, even when they are going through the darkest of phases. And that's exactly what resilience is all about. And I'm spending more than I don't know how many hours in a day, but more than what anybody could normally do in trying to help people rise from the ashes. And as time goes by, every day there are new challenges, and now I see this AI actually coming up in most of my conversations, where I'm actually helping people to see the brighter side of things. So I think the timing is perfect, and seating is perfect. I'm in the midst of a fantastic panel. So over to you, Pallavi.
Thank you so much for the wonderful introduction, Harini. Our next panel member for today is Mr. Prerak Shah, who's the Joint CEO, Dev IT Limited. Lead by example is his philosophy as he motivates team in providing businesses with solutions that aptly align technology, process, and people, and in turn helps business maximize their IT investments. Before returning home in 2009, in his 14 years in US, one term of Vanvas, as he jokingly calls, Prerak acquired MS in Computer Science, ITIL certification, and became a project management professional, PMP, from PMI, and has successfully led many global projects to fruition. Helping less privileged and making society a better place for all to live in is something that is very close to his heart. He strongly believes that in interest of the cause, instead of carrying various such charters individually, it is better to unite and work towards empowering the ones that are already working on it. And in that line, he has always made it a point to find time to support Yuva Unstoppable and in various roles, and he has also been recognized by Yuva Unstoppable as a youth icon. You can also follow him on LinkedIn. The link for the same has been shared in the chat window already. So Prerak, can I request you to share a few things about yourself?
Thank you, Pallavi, for such a beautiful narration of the profile. Hello, folks. I'm Prerak. Pallavi has such given all the details. One thing that I can tell about myself is I'm not really from HR. Since I'm talking on HR AI panel, I'm more of a business side. I have my bachelor's and master's in computer science. Came back home in 2009, working as a joint CEO with Deva IT. But people is my passion. I believe empowered people deliver a lot more and do a lot more. They become happy, and happy minds can do wonders, right? That is where I play a role as a stakeholder, as a client, as well as consultant to HR. As Pallavi mentioned, helping all and make the world a better place for all is definitely something I believe we all understand the need of that. When the disparity is increasing day by day, things are becoming absolutely, impossible for people to even sustain and survive. And facing all kind of issues. What we can do. Everybody asks, everybody has a lot to say about what country can do, what government can do, what my neighbor can do, what my management can do. So, well, all that may be right. Let us do our part and let us do our little bit to make it better. That is where human relations come into play. That is how I look at HR, not a human resource. It's a human resource, a relationship. And AI can only be considered as an enabler to make it a better. That is how we have to take it. And when we do it, things will be wonderful. So I believe AI will have net positive effect, and we'll talk more about that.
Thank you, Prerak, for the wonderful, wonderful introduction. And I completely agree with you. I think AI will definitely have a net positive impact. And towards the end of the discussion, we'll see how our panel members can add on more to it. Last but not the least, our final panel member for today is Ms. Tina Matthew. Tina is the head of human resources, NSE IT. She has a rich experience of 18 plus years in the IT and ITES space of BFSI, life sciences, and manufacturing verticals. Before joining NSE IT, she was associated with TCS and Mastek. She's led teams across geographies in the space of business partnering, performance management, compensation and benefits, and talent acquisition portfolios. Tina is a trusted partner to key leaders in the high-tech industry, driving people transformation strategies and digital priorities while maintaining governance processes for the organization across talent management. Tina is a postgraduate of HR and MA in Applied Linguistics and an assessment center practitioner from XLRI Jamshedpur. An avid contributor to the learning community through representations on the board of studies of Syscoms, Navi Mumbai, Tina is also an award winner at TAPAI, HRD Congress, and HR Summit. You can follow Tina on LinkedIn. The link for the same has been shared in the chat window. Tina, can I request you to share a few things about yourself?
Thank you, Pallavi. Lovely introduction. And so happy to see my fellow panelists as well as a very large audience out here. I've already spoken a lot already about the professional journey. Thought I'd just share a little bit about myself. I think, it's been a very long journey for me. So the last few years is something that has been very gripping for me. And I've been going through a little bit of transformation with a little incident where, we had been to Rishikesh and we were trying to do this bungee jumping. And I reach the edge, but I withdrew back. And that's something that questioned me and actually told me that I need to look at doing something to conquer my fears. So yes, in the last few years, I've been taking up this action to learn martial arts. So that's something about me and the journey that I've been having in the last few years, which I'd love to share about you. And I'd love to hear more from all of you if there is time. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Tina. And I think it takes a lot of courage to even accept that fact in front of such a huge audience that I withdrew back. I was kind of almost hoping for a situation where you said that I jumped and then I conquered the entire world. But great, that gives a lot of us hope as to how we can always master our own pace. So thank you so much for the lovely introductions to all the panel members. And let us quickly jump into the question and answers discussion. As I said, I'll be asking a few questions to each one of you. And at any point of time, I'll request you can please share your insights or thoughts if you feel there is anything that you would want to add on. Great. So my first question is to Mr. Prera. Prera, my question to you is, as AI becomes more advanced and widespread, it is likely that some job roles will be replaced or maybe even significantly changed. How can HR departments prepare for this shift and help employees develop the skills they need to succeed in an AI-driven workplace?
Well, this is one fear that is lingering probably on everybody's mind, that AI will come, robots will do the work, what will I do? Right? If I look back, being part of IT, I look at AI very differently. And I haven't gone through the same dilemma that people had earlier about 20 years ago, when IT was becoming and computers were becoming more active part of the society as a whole. People were thinking that now everything will be done with a computer, what we will do, right? People had to stop writing the long accounts. People had to not maintain the inventory logs. Things was started happening. But honestly, jobs have not gone. IT is more of an enabler, not only for business, but for entire society. Similarly, if you compare those days to now you find IT everywhere and people have accepted as a part of the system, and people who accepted have done much better. Similarly, today, AI, I would say the same thing. It is not there to replace anybody. It is just to aid anybody's decision making or learning and everything. At the end of the day, AI stands for artificial intelligence. It is artificial, guys. And it is us, human, who are the source of natural intelligence that God has given to us. So, for us, AI should be considered only primarily as an aid and data help. That, the data, there is a vast data that sometimes our mind cannot comprehend in one go. Think that what would you do if you have a mind of a Shakuntala Devi? When you look at the numbers and you can do all the multiplication at once, right? You don't need computer or anything, right? But everybody does not have that mind. Similarly, when there is a lot of data and the data has a lot of insights, in a one go, in a quick manner, our mind will not be able to process it and give it out, where there is an AI which will process and give you some inputs, analysis, recommendations, suggestions. It could be about behavior, it could be about product, it could be about environment, anything, right? So, first of all, job security is out of question. It is going to be there. Nobody needs to think that AI is going to take over the job. Bunch of robots are going to come and walk your world and they're going to do things and you will sit idle and you will have nothing to do. That can be your choice. If you wish not to do anything, yes, you can, but that is not going to be the case. Now, how HR can help, when at work, a lot of things are taken over by AI-driven systems or applications or tools, right? From HR perspective, what my expectations of business would be, prepare people for the change. We all know change is the only constant and we have to accept it. Like unknown is the only known, change is the only constant, right? So we have to accept it. Prepare people to adapt to the change. Tell them, it could be many different ways. Inform them ahead of what is coming, rather than just bringing something and throwing on them. So that is a mindset. They can adapt and they can settle with the change that is coming in terms of, let it be tools, process, or let it be automation, or let it be application of AI, right? make them feel comfortable. If I talk about IT industry, where I am from, preparing people for AI has totally different dimension. I would say train people on AI related skills, AI programming, and XYZ things. But when I go out of IT, when IT is just enabler and other businesses, for them, people are consumer of AI, right? And so train people on how to look at the data, what that means. Make sure that you clarify that AI is a data driven, but it is not a fact driven. Fact is what we know. You always have to have right sense and right understanding of combining the circumstances with the data and make a right judgment. So, make them understand the value, importance, application of AI, how to use, what their role is, prepare them to utilize that AI tools to improve their job outcome, which is actually going to be wonderful experience, that where you will not be spending time in doing the nitty-gritty dirty job, rather AI will do that job for you, and you'll be building decisions, strategy, actions on top of it, which can lead to a better future for all. So that is my take as a HR, preparing everyone ahead of time, give them time to adopt, give them time to adjust their mindset, give them that emotional comfort, making sure not it is just for the sake of saying it, but rather it is really that what something you mean. Create that environment where people accept AI as their friend and a tool rather than their enemy and replacement. Hope that helps.
Thank you so much, Prerna, for answering it. And I wanted to ask this question at the very beginning of the discussion because this is one fear. I think it's there on everyone's mind, right? How is AI going to take over my job? Is my job secure or not? And as you rightly pointed out, AI is at the end of the day artificial. It's something which is still man-made. There is a human being who's creating something, right? So at the end of the day, it's up to us how we use any new technology. How do we adapt to it? And change is always scary. Any kind of change is something which we are all afraid of. But the reality is change is the only constant. So thank you so much for answering it so well. My next question is to Harini. Harini, the question that I have for you is AI has the potential to be used for good, but it also raises a lot of ethical concerns, right? We talked about it in the beginning, like ethical concerns around issues like bias, privacy, accountability. How can HR professionals ensure that AI is used responsibly as well as ethically within their own organizations?
Okay, so I'm going to give this a little bit of a twist, like I always do. I wonder why very often HR folks, we ourselves, take it on ourselves that it is us who has to use this mindfully. Because let's look at how this whole thing actually pans out. Right? So I actually want to bring here a distinction between automation and artificial intelligence. And I'm sure Prerak will also agree with me that these two words are used interchangeably by a lot of people, which is what is leading to too much of confusion. Automation is actually, quote unquote, programming repetitive actions which have predictable results so that you're able to move away from manual to something which is run by a machine or from something which is automatic, which actually helps in improving productivity because machines will not tire as fast as humans and accuracy is better and so on and so forth. If you look at it, it has actually been a boon because automation has made mundane jobs become easier to be done by people because machines are doing it for us. Now, when it comes to artificial intelligence is something which looks back at a lot of occurrences. It draws trends and patterns, and it predicts what a preference or the next occurrence could be, looking at the certain pattern of the user. That's what artificial intelligence does. So if you have a choice, sorry about the background noise, I can't do anything. So if you have made a choice, a repeated choice about something, and you're leaving a footprint, you're leaving an electronic footprint about your choice, then artificial intelligence draws its wisdom from whatever you have done, and it predicts what will be your next choice. So if you look at it, this is how AI works. What actually happens is the user who is leaving the electronic footprints is actually responsible for the outcome. So if I want my information to be used ethically, if I want to safeguard my piracy as a user, I have to take care that I leave the right kind of electronic footprints or digital footprints. If I end up, if I take a very extreme example, if I lie to my manager that I am sick and I go on vacation, a very famous example, I go on vacation and I post it on my WhatsApp status or on Facebook, then I am being unethical, right? Because I am misusing a freedom that is given to me to apply for leave. But you can't say that HR is unethical because it appears on someone's feed who happens to be connected. So one part of the story is the user has to be mindful while leaving digital footprints. At the same time, what HR can do is not misuse any of these digital footprints to be vindictive. So for example, if everybody knows my residence address, well, it's out there. I shared it with a lot of people. So many people know my residence address. So if HR sends somebody to harass me, then that's wrong. But if HR is using my private information to help me for something, then it's fine. So I think it's a balance that every user has to make while leaving digital footprints, and HR has to be very clear about what are they using the information for. Are they using the information to stalk somebody, or are they using this information to help someone in a time of distress? So I think the ethics is all about how we look at things and what is our intent behind doing so. If our intent is right, then ethics is very well taken care of. If our intent is wrong, if our intent is to catch hold of somebody, be vindictive, punish, stalk, then obviously it's unethical. So it's all about in our own minds. But at the same time, I think before we actually get down to blaming HR, it's all about each one of us being very mindful when we leave our digital footprints across.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that, Harini. And I agree with you. A lot of us think that HR is the custodian of anything good, anything bad happening in the organization. And I think as HR practitioners, we have always tried to also, take the responsibility or onus on us. I can see Prerak smiling. But yes, so I think it's a very interesting take on how, as people, how as individuals, each one of us take the onus on ourselves about being ethical. It's not some, one person's individual responsibility. It's actually everyone's responsibility. Thank you for answering that so well. My next question is an extension to this, Harini. As companies increasingly adopt AI technologies, what role should HR departments play in managing this process? So while, of course, you did say that HR should not be the custodian completely, but is there a role that HR should play? And how can HR professionals help to ensure that AI is implemented in a way that aligns with the company's goals and values?
Actually, this is again an interesting question. Here is where HR can really contribute to a very effective deployment of artificial intelligence-based technology at the workplace. So I tried a few experiments in my last organization, and they were, that was very rudimentary, but the results were fascinating, right? So there were a lot of these FAQs that came from our travel policy, transfer policy, etc. And as a intern project, I just tried, can you use this information can you build a bot that uses this information and gives quick, easy answers when people ask similar questions. So, like I said, it was rudimentary and we had very little data. Even then, the bot was very useful when it came to very basic preliminary information. So I think HR is actually sitting with a lot of information. But in the past, what has happened is we've been collecting a lot of information, but we've not really been very conscious about saving it somewhere or putting it at some repository. But if you're able to pull it out of a repository, categorize it into what a user really wants or what an employee really wants, we are allowing a machine to learn these trends and patterns, and we're able to develop a bot which answers those questions. It becomes an extended arm for HR. And then what HR can do is move away from the so-called operational role to a lot of strategic thinking. I think that's been one of the grievances of a lot of HR people, that 2 years, 3 years in the role, and they say, I want to do strategy. I'm tired of operations. A lot of my students come back telling me that, and I say that no, nothing stops you from thinking strategy, even if you are an intern, even if you are a fresher, right? So what you can do is try and delegate routine stuff to a bot, which is actually equipped with all the information that you have collected. So the onus is now on HR to equip the bot with a lot of intelligence so that it gives the right kind of answer, so that it minimizes manual intervention in those areas. Then what can HR do with its spare time? With the spare time, HR can then start creating new stuff. Like Prerak said, artificial intelligence is something which looks back at the past, analyzes quickly, looks at trends and patterns, and predicts. But artificial intelligence is not something which can create something new or unique. So I think the role of HR folks would then be, once you build the intelligence for a bot, for an AI-enabled tool to do normal stuff for you, where your intervention may not be required, in almost as efficiently as you've been doing, it frees up a lot of your time to start creating stuff. You can think of disruptive ways of people management. Okay, we're all still stuck with the 100-plus-year-old Frederick Taylor scientific management. But honestly, cross your heart and tell me, in the new age of managing people, is that relevant? Not really. Because that was at a time when that was the industrial era. Today we are in the digital era. So it's time we relook that. And who else can relook that better than the practitioners? So I think HR can focus its time looking at this scientific management, trying to come up with disruptive ways of functioning, actually going into the future of work. HR can start revisiting the archaic labor laws, coming up with petitions to try and see what we can do to make them more relevant, while all the other question, answer, FAQ stuff gets handled by the AI. So there's tremendous that we can do if we start looking at ourselves as the really intelligent human beings and not as slaves of HR. As a closing comment on this question, I would really visualize a situation where, let's not fear about AI running the HR function. Let's rather look at HR function being run more efficiently using artificial intelligence. So I want to flip the complete story and start looking at what we can do better than artificial.
I agree with you, Harini. I think that's a very wonderful way of putting it across, like using HR, AI for enabling your work in a much more streamlined, much more efficient manner. Instead of you thinking about and doing all the routine and the mundane work, how can AI help you transform that while you focus on the strategic part of the business? I think that's a great way of putting it across. Great answers. My next question is to Tina. Tina, while there are a lot of concerns about the potential negative impact of AI on job roles, there is also potential for AI to augment human intelligence and enable employees to work more effectively. How can HR professionals help employees take advantage of these opportunities and develop the skills they need to work effectively with AI?
Oh, sorry, my unmute button suddenly wouldn't give up. So, so yes, in fact, Pallavi, this is something that, kind of reflects back to what Prerak had actually mentioned when he opened up the session, saying that, when we've been looking at this journey, everybody's really being worried that, when IT really comes up the way, would jobs become redundant? If nothing, what you've seen over the past few years, it's only being an evolution of how HR plays a role in the industry. And when you make a move specifically in the area of how business intelligence and how artificial intelligence and machine learning would actually play in, there are so many roles that did not exist around 10 years ago that have just come in right now. So let's say, for example, kind of roles that you talk about, such as the HRMS strategic counselor. Right now, you have people who have a very strong understanding about people, systems, data, and they are the ones who are bringing this, tying this in together, so that you're able to ensure that the kind of data that is reflected in your organization is most ethical and representative. So for instance, like if I think Harni, you mentioned about leave and absence. If an employee is, going to Timbuktu, but, saying that the employee is at home, you have geofencing that is there that ensures that at least the representation that is being given as a declaration matches with actually what is happening. So there are a lot of roles that have evolved in the last few years and that will continue to do so. While you would be aware of roles such as people, those who are working in the HR systems and in the framework building space, what's really new are certain roles that you should, really read upon, and you will see it. Things such as, a genetic diversity officer. So as we move further along, ensuring that our selection processes are more inclusive and more representative in nature, the kind of, the kind of impression that we leave out in the market has to be very, very carefully as well as inclusively built. Now, I'll give you an example of, a talent acquisition officer who had to post a job online. So the job would read somewhere close to saying that, we are a dominant engineering company that boasts many leading clients. Okay, now, as per results of research that are coming through, words such as dominant, leading, boss are really circled around masculinity, and that's why it becomes very difficult for the system to pull that and showcase it to a feminine audience. Now, to ensure that you have a more fair and representative audience who will get to see that ad, then maybe the wordings have to change. Yeah. So therefore, you have a genetic diversity officer who would actually look into these elements of the linguistic aspects of how it needs to be put across in the system. Because finally, when you're talking about business intelligence, it's an algorithm that is there. It uses the data that you provided. But if you're providing it faulty data, it is only going to give you a faulty output, right? So the algorithm in itself can't, there is scope for it to also go wrong, but it's finally dependent on the kind of input that we provide. And that is called as human assisted biases that are actually getting put in. So these are certain roles that will evolve in the market in the next few years. People, those who will understand that we need to study inclusivity in a very technical fashion and how we can implement this. There are many, many more such examples. So I was just wanting to restrict it to this example and talking about it, because you would have all of us are now going through a work from home facilitator, correct? You could have a fitness facilitator. You would even have a data detective, chief trust officer. So these are roles that are really coming up coming up our way. And most important is for everybody who is on this call that we have to read up on this, understand this space a little bit more, and evolve our journey in the space of HR. And that's how it is going to make a difference to everybody.
Thank you so much, Tina, for answering that in a very interesting fashion. And as you rightly said, there are a lot of new job roles which will be created, new competencies, new specifications which will come up specifically because of the AI-driven workspace now. And while, of course, there will be a lot of new scope created, my next question is again to you, and it is in line with the question that we just discussed. Now, since AI systems are only as unbiased as the data that they are trained on, right? It's somebody human who's creating that digital footprint of the data. There could be concerns that AI could perpetuate existing biases and discrimination. Now, typically, as as HR employees or HR practitioners, since all of us are talking a lot about DEI or diversity, equity, and inclusion, how can HR departments ensure that AI is used in a way with our current set of capabilities that it promotes diversity and inclusion?
So, first of all, it's all our role to ensure that, ethics as well as the legal aspect are something that are completely taken care of. So, and I'm talking about both these in separate ways, because from a legal point of view, I'm sure for all those who are in the international space, there are certain privacy norms that are getting maintained with respect to exposure of data in itself. So on one hand, as let's say, to ensure that we are propagating diversity and inclusion, there is a legal aspect of it that we all should be aware and we should be studying about it. Not just domestic laws, but also international laws in terms of what are the norms in terms of GDPR, what are the norms that are there in terms of privacy, disclosure, that needs to be understood from the point of view of that country. So that is one part of it. The second part of it is something that moves into the gray line where, when you're talking about ethics, okay, it's very easy. I mean, HR is the one that will take the call and, convert the gray line into black and white. Acceptable, not acceptable. All right. So converting that gray line into black and white is what we actually stand to do. Now, I'll give you some examples in that direction, when we have to move. Now, when you look at certain ads that are there online, okay, as I've mentioned before, finally, AI is an algorithm, uses the existing training data and throws an output, okay? So in the same context of an ad that we talk about, when there are ads, and unfortunately today Facebook and Google have not yet matured to an extent to ensure that diversity is being taken care of when their postings or algorithms are really running through. So though I can see this actually reflected in LinkedIn is able to actually ensure that to a significant level. So for instance, if you actually look at the output of Facebook and Google, okay, if an ad of a cashier is being posted online, then that is something that gets shown to around 85% of women. If an ad of a taxi driver is being actually posted, it gets showcased to almost 75% of the time to Black men. If a high-paying executive job is there, it gets showcased to 85% of men. So when we are giving, or the kind of input that we drive into our job postings, the way we verb it, in my previous example I had given it, the way we word it itself provides a linkage back into the algorithm to throw it back to the right audience. So, so what happens is that it's very easy for me to say that, but we need to be a part of that system that creates this. Yeah. Unfortunately, there isn't enough training data being collated on women. It could be for various reasons, for historical reasons that you look at, or for any kind of diversity groups that you look at. There aren't enough of, data sets that are available, especially when you're talking about differently abled. So if you need a representation of that data coming through in your ad, and what are the kind of words, what are the kind of aspects that need to be shared out, we need to very purposefully ensure that whatever data set is being used is representative of that. So for instance, next time when you're selecting a vendor for any kind of engagement, it could be training, it could be hiring, any of these aspects, ask your vendor companies, what is your base data? Is your base data representative of trainers that have all areas of diversity included? Because finally, you are only going to be able to shortlist it if they have it in their base, correct? Yeah. So it's very important as HR representatives to ensure that we call it out black and white and ensure that the data that is being brought to us to make that evaluation or that selection is representative across. So then when that input comes through, you're able to take a very clear call, and then your vendor is also available and knows that, okay, fine. Now, when I am showcasing a base data or a list of resumes that have been posted across to her, and when Pallavi is searching for a candidate with Java, IT, etc., it will pull in data sets from diversely included sections. So then the program has to ensure that it is able to pull in a percentage from each category also, because unless we do that, we will not be able to perpetuate. You use that word perpetuate, you will not be able to actually get that into the system. So yeah, that's in sum and substance on how I would like to talk about our role as HR to ensure that the kind of data that goes into generating the BI algos are something that showcase a diverse group.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Tina. And as you rightly said, a lot of it is about changing the way we currently operate, changing the mindset, right? Changing the way we think, changing the way we perceive things. And that's how the change starts with us, right? One part of it is changing the perspective. The other part of it is also getting ourselves educated about what are the latest things which are going on, how industries are changing, how globally, patterns are changing. And a lot of it goes on to our own self as HR professionals to prepare for it.
Very true, very true. A very large amount of pressure is there on the team to ensure that change begins from within.
True. Thanks, Reena.
I'll just add one thing here with respect to what Tina said, right? As an HR professional, if you are procuring a tool or application or a software which is AI enabled, right? It is important that you understand that thoroughly, understand the data set that it bases on. If it has a way to adjust your, not I would say exactly opinion, but way balancing of the factor you want to consider, because AI platforms also do provide this, as we build this, so understanding how AI operates is very much important, because then you can make the right selection such that it is more diverse and more inclusive than anything. One beautiful thing about AI is, it may start with a set of data set it has got, but because its intelligence is also part of it, it evolves with the data that you will continue to feed inside it, right? So it will learn. Once you ask that, I would want to make sure there is equal inclusion of male versus female or all ethnicity and everything. Next time when it answers, it will keep that in mind that, when Tina is doing something or this company's HR is operating something, they will be doing it that way. So it is your biases that you pass whichever way is going to be reflected too. It is just going to help you make the decision based on parameters that you really care for. So our role as HR or business remains the same, but we have now help that is going to do that. So something to add to that.
And I just want to make one more point here is, I'm going back and using the same vacation and leaving digital footprints example, role of how we use the AI enabled technologies. If we start trying to use it for punishing people, then that's not what the role of HR is. When we talk of AI enabled HR, I would just request everybody, all my HR friends, to not look at AI enabled tools as something which makes you smarter than an employee and you try and punish. It's more about how you can eliminate any kind of misbehavior at work. So if you go back to that Facebook example which I gave, if you find people lying at work and going away on vacation, and I think the role of HR is to eliminate that fear of employees telling their bosses that they are sick when they actually want to have time out with their families. Driving psychological safety should be our intent when we try and use these tools, and not the other way, to use these tools to actually punish people if they're found doing something wrong. I just wanted to bring this point because this is very close to my heart, and I just wanted to ensure that we.
Thanks for highlighting that, Harini. Since we have been talking a lot about, how HR should help the employees space, the organizations or employees use AI. My next question to Prerak would be, as AI becomes more advanced, it is also likely to have a profound impact on the future of work. Work as we see it today will be completely changed probably. So how can HR departments prepare for this shift, and what skills do you think will be most valuable for employees to, inculcate in an AI-driven workplace?
That's a lovely question. Again, I would say if I were to answer this as I lead and head the IT organization, things will be different. I'll say programming. Understand the data, understand the algorithm, use the right one, and make sure that right analysis is coming out. But when I'm talking world as a whole and other organization, most important part in AI-enabled organization that one needs to be really trained on is the emotional aspect of it. If there is a skill that business leaders or at a functional level, at a team level, that needs to really start adapting now, more so than ever before, is be empathetic. Develop your emotional intelligence, because what AI is telling you again is a subjective based on what the data and what the behavioral analysis that can do based on the similar instance in the past. While it could be really good indicator, it may not be always accurate. So you cannot take that as a stick and just do everything with that. So bring in your perspective to the matter, use that as an input, and make the decision considering the person's or businesses overall scenario. So emotional intelligence is definitely one thing that people need to be trained more. When I talk emotional intelligence, empathy automatically becomes part of it, right? If I go to Harini's example, that when somebody has applied for the sick leave and somebody has been found vacationing in Timbuktu, right? That is now input to you. You have to use it. Again, as long as you were not using it to spy on a person, but rather you were using it as a natural fit that was coming to you, but combining to how you handle the situation so that it sends the right message to the entire audience, your organization, not only for the person, that we are being very thorough in our understanding, in our data analysis, data gathering. There was no spying, but it was just, we have this tool which tells us, we can put it in terms of, the word Tina used, geofencing. And so connecting all these inputs, deriving a decision and conveying the decision in rightful manner, that is a human aspect that you want to be definitely trained on. Another thing I would say is being culturally sensitive, right? AI, while it can be localized based on the company's or country's culture, still there would be, when people from different ethnicity working in the same group in your company, different people, different gender, different age profile, you want to make sure that you derive use the information coming out in that something that is suitable to the person's or his culture, and use it that way. So if I were to say the skills of the future leaders, skills of the future workforce, even as a consumer, understand the data, but don't be blindfolded by it. Rather, use it as an input and use your judgment. Don't be biased, but rather use your judgment to make empathetic, emotionally and culturally sensitive decision that is right, that can take people on a productive and happier path rather than making them feel the victim of a system. So that is what I would definitely say as far as the skills for the future that we want to, being ethical, naturally, being human, being accountable are other things. So I'm here, technical skills everybody will carry. The interpersonal or soft skill is something that one needs to be stronger and stronger day by day when we are working on AI driven world, so that we can make the right judgment without being biased either by AI or by ourselves. Sometimes AI will help us neutralize our bias, honestly speaking. You have to be open to that too, because we think one way may not be always right, and AI is telling you that 10 different scenarios, same kind of things, but this was the judgment, this was the reason. You have to believe that, yeah, that can be possibility. So just, become open-minded and be empathetic. And that is what the need of the future is going to be. And chances of your success will be drastically increasing.
I agree with you, Prerak. I think one of the biggest things that has come out of this discussion is how can we be more open-minded? How can we see AI as a potential benefit to us instead of standing it, looking at it as a potential competition? And I'm sure we'll have many more important discussions. I see a lot of audience questions coming up already. But before we take up the audience questions, I'll request Team HR AI to put on the poll question. We have one more audience poll question, which is going to quickly come up on your screen. Faisal, over to you.
So before we move on to the Q&A round, we'll be running a poll to have the participants' valuable feedback on this session. During this time, we request all the participants to feel free and put their questions in the chat window. We can take the question from Tushar, Pallavi, in that case.
Yeah, while the audience poll is still going on, I think we have a question already from Tushar. Tushar asks, how might AI be used to enhance creativity and artistic expression, and what implications might this have for the future of art and culture? Very interesting question, Tushar.
Yeah, so can I take that, Pallavi, with
Please go on.
everyone's permission? Yeah, so I just want to highlight a point here that, like I started saying, AI is not something which can create anything. So obviously, the purpose of AI is for decision making based on what happened in the past. It's for quicker, effective, predictable decision making. It's never meant for creativity. So if we have started experimenting using popular AI tools and try to be creative, I would say that is like doing a remix version or doing a copy of an artist's original painting. So definitely one should not expect the premium price that an original artist would get if you're using any of the AI enabled tools and you're calling yourself creative. Now that's about how we use it mindfully. Now what it does for art and culture is, I think that is where a lot of threat is. The original artists and the original creators, they have to be able to position themselves in a way that their originality is not seen as a copy. My worry is more with them rather than any of us, because it's very easy to come up with remix versions. I may be a horrible singer, but I can sing any of the older songs, put a lot of digital music into it, and I might make more money than the original singer. Now, that's where my worry is. So if we are mindfully using AI for what it is meant to be and not using it to come up with so-called creativity, which we actually don't have, then I think we're being unfair to the real.
Thank you for that answer, Harini. I think a lot of it is, as all of us have been talking about, being very mindful about how we use the technology. Any technology is supposed to, it has both pros and cons. How do we use it to the pros? How do we use it in a way that it was intended? Great. My next question is from Pooja. Pooja asks, what ethical consideration should be taken into account as AI becomes more integrated into society, and how can we ensure that these technologies are developed and used in a responsible manner? Tina, Prerak, Harini, if any one of you would like to take up the question.
I think I answered this. So if anyone else wants to take on.
So the thing is that going a little deep dive, when you're saying ethical considerations, there's a lot of tools that are available online that help you in the specific areas that you are taking a look at. I'll keep going back to talent acquisition because that is one space where I've been talking about most of my examples. So as HR professionals, we know that we have to take the right. What are the ethical considerations? We all know we have to be fair, right? Now, if we need to be fair, what are the tools that will help enable you to take those particular decisions? So when you are, taking up, when you are taking up something as an output of a tool, you need another tool to address that, right? So a very specific example would be going back to that instance where I said that, there were certain ads that were put up online, which actually were centered around or rather were directed only in one direction. Okay, so they were not very inclusive language points that are there. Now online, there are a lot of tools that are available for position, description, bias, character profiling. Now these are certain online tools that are available that will indicate that, currently there are enough of data sets available for these kind of words to reflect a job description. While it is suggested that you can use words A, B, C, D, E. Yeah. So there are a lot of tools that are available. And I think it is forums like these where you pull in your understanding of these tools. You talk about them. I mean, I've seen a lot of chats and interactions that happen between fellow, HRI associates, etc., where you ask in these specific questions, understand these tools and study them. Because all those who are there on this call, you all have taken tough decisions. You've had to have difficult conversations with employees who going through a not going through a good time or who are going through a fantastic time, you have seen evidences of how biases creep into the system. So you are a part of that mechanism that establishes and ensures that we put in some kind of either a process, a BI tool, or an automation to ensure that these are eliminated, right? So we're already a part of that system. So it's important for us as a fraternity to keep sharing about these tools, because the arena of that HR is actually handling is really just so huge that if we have to cite examples in each area, I mean, I only focused on the talent acquisition piece, but even if you're going to core HR modules such as your compensation, your rewarding, your recognition, how do we actually use BI for each and every one of this? There are tools that are available. So I think it is reaching out to the HR fraternity for now, because we don't have a master tool set that actually indicates, these are the recommended tools that you can go in for each of the sections of HR. So that is my suggestion to this team.
Thank you so much, Tina. My next question is from Nilesh. Nilesh asked this question specifically to Mr. Prera. What are the areas of HR that will be impacted immediately by AI, and what precautions as we HR leaders must be cognizant of and take precautions, especially where interaction with AI is limited with respect to unknown? Please advise.
Okay, and I think Nilesh has posted one more thing, and I think that is in continuation to that, and he's talking about the recruitment, where AI could be playing a role in terms of recruitment. Nilesh, is that right? Your second
I think the question is from someone called Nitesh Sharma.
Oh, there are two different Nilesh. Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Nilesh,
My mistake. I'm reading both as Nilesh. So actually, both were kind of related points. So I thought, anyway, so Nilesh, what are the areas in HR that can be immediately impacted? One is actually recruitment, definitely, because as Mr. Nitesh has pointed in line underneath, and I totally agree, that part, when it comes to sourcing of a right candidate, right, there can be AI platform that can help you scroll the web and find the suitable profile. Now, does that mean that person doing that job is no longer needed? My answer to that is no. Let AI help you, improve the efficiency or productivity of your searches and the profile you source. Still, there has to be vetting done based on your unique need, which could be how is the hiring manager psyche? What is the project needs? What is my organization culture? What is this candidate's job changing frequent tendency, and many other things. So the things that you need to be cognizant about is the area that, the decisions or the inputs or information that is coming out of any AI tool should not be taken as a decision. It should be taken as an input, and you have to rationalize it with respect to actual condition or scenario that you are in. I have been saying that, and that is what I strongly believe in. At the same time, when we talk about using AI as an enabler, right? One example that Tina was just talking about, reward and recognition. There are, in many organizations, current problem that people face, because you can call it because it's a remote working environment that it is now or otherwise, people don't feel recognized or valued enough. It is human nature when somebody does not do a good job, we definitely go out and say, what the heck, why did you do this? But when somebody is doing the good job all year long throughout, 24/7, we hardly take a moment to say, hey man, you have been keeping a lot of burden off my back and you are doing awesome, Instead, that person is working in silo, doing good. We are happy. We don't talk. We don't complain. And then person starts feeling that, do I exist? Does it matter what I do? It's like, that housewife's thing, that she is taking care of the, daily course all day long, but not getting appreciated. This is where AI can be really helpful. There can be a platform which is scrolling to people's emails. Let it be data points in terms of performance, or client sending a note, thank you, or project managers giving, but it is not recognized in public forum. This can become insight. AI tool can pull this data, compile this, and send it to HR. That, for Mr. Prera, we have found these 10 positive things in different mails. Maybe you want to recognize. So this is application of AI that we can consider. I don't think any such platform exists there, can be developed. And, this can be a great way for HR to, recognize people, and, that is your friend, and you will be doing something that was not happening. So you are actually doing the value add. So think of AI as your friend, as you can think of different applications. Just understand it is giving you input based on the information that is available to us. Now, what information do we have? That platform cannot have any new information than what we already have. It is just processing it better, faster than us. So we have to think of scenarios, pass it on, and we can be cognizantly taking advantage of the capabilities AI can offer.
So I
Thank you.
wanted to
Yeah, sure.
add to that, Pallavi. Okay, so
Yes,
just
please.
giving an example to what Mr. Prerak just said. All right. So when you're having a BI tool, okay, some of them are enabled through a video algo, some of them through an audio algo, some of them through possibly even a typewritten algo, etc. Now I give you further instance of that. So let's take a video algo itself. Till now, the AI and the BI algos have not matured enough to actually take into consideration cultural differences. Okay, so if you are actually shortlisting based on certain video logs that are there, if in Greece, if you had to say, did you like, the dish, and the person actually nods with like this, that means it doesn't mean yes, it means no. Whereas possibly, in India, it means the other way around, right? So even these cultural aspects are something that systems technically are not able to actually understand. So in short, what we're all trying to say is the same message, that AI and BI is here to stay. They will come. It is for all of us to understand these tools, to gear up to it and mature into these roles, because customer is more demanding, customer is more finicky, and things become just too specific in terms of requirement. So this is there to provide you an intelligence. And finally, we need to understand those tools and the shortcomings of those tools. So yeah, jobs will evolve, but definitely they don't get taken away.
Thank you. Thank you for adding on to that point, Tina. Absolutely, as you rightly said, AI is here. AI is here to stay. And we have to think about how we can use it to the best of our advantage. It's been an amazing, amazing session. And we had a very insightful discussion on how AI can actually transform workspaces and job scenario that we know about as of today. As our panel discussion on the future of artificial intelligence comes to a close, it is clear that AI will actually continue to play a significant role in shaping our workplaces and society in many more years to come. The reality is artificial intelligence is here, it is here to stay, and it is the future. Our panel of experts have shared a lot of valuable insights and perspectives on the opportunities and challenges presented by AI, from its potential impact on job roles to the ethical considerations that must be taken into account. As we move forward, it is important for HR professionals, business leaders, and employees to continue to stay informed about the latest developments in AI and to explore ways to incorporate this technology in a very responsible and a very ethical manner. The onus lies on each one of us. By doing so, we can ensure that AI is used to create positive change in our workplaces, society, and that its potential benefits are realized by one and everyone. We hope that this panel discussion has provided valuable insights and sparked ideas for further exploration. And we thank our panelists and audience members for their contribution to this very important conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Pallavi, for taking us through this session and making it so interactive and exciting. Thank you, Mr. Prerak, Ms. Tina, Ms. Harini, for sharing your valuable thoughts and insights with us. It has been a privilege having you all for this engrossing session. To all those who wish to learn and grow, you can access the recording of our today's session on our YouTube link shared in the chat window. Before we conclude with today's session, we would also want to thank all the event partners, Geisha, NASSCOM COE, Talgro, TLE, WICCI, LinkedIn Local, Ahmedabad and India for supporting HRAI's event. To know more about these associations, request you to kindly visit the link provided in the chat window. Do join us for our next Connecting the Dots on 13th of April, 2023. That's it from our today's webinar. Hope to see you soon. Stay safe, take care, and bye for now. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Pallavi. Thank you, Ms. Tina. Thank you, Ms.
Bye,
Hareen.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.